Mafia boss finds Waitress hiding to eat leftovers. He stood marveled at the depths of inhumanity. His heart broke as he saw her scrambling to eat leftovers from the dirty dishes, her hands trembling as she scraped remnants of someone else's meal into her mouth, like it was her last chance at survival. Before we continue with this absolutely heartbreaking story, drop a comment right now and tell me where you're watching from and what time it is in your city. This story is going to shake you to your core, so make sure you subscribe because you do not want to miss what happens next. Trust me, this one hits different. Vincent Russo wasn't supposed to be here. The man who controlled half the city's underground operations, the ghost who made million-dollar deals in the shadows, was sitting in a cracked leather booth at Martinez Family Diner at 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday night. His usual spots, the five-star restaurants where chefs knew his name and managers cleared private rooms, those were compromised. Federal surveillance had eyes everywhere. So tonight, Vincent Russo ate meatloaf and mashed potatoes in a failing diner on the south side, surrounded by truckers and night shift workers who had no idea Death himself was chewing overcooked beef 3 tables away. The food was mediocre. The coffee tasted like burnt rubber. But the anonymity, that was priceless. Vincent watched the sparse crowd with the careful attention that had kept him alive for 20 years in a business where most men died young. The cook moved mechanically behind the serving window. The manager sat in his office, visible through the half-open door, staring at his computer screen with the glazed expression of someone who'd given up years ago. And then there was her, the waitress. She moved differently than the others. Quieter, more deliberate. Her teal uniform hung slightly loose on her frame, and her name tag said Mia in faded letters. She'd refilled Vincent's coffee twice without meeting his eyes, her movements efficient but exhausted. There was something about her that made Vincent's instincts hum. In his world, you learned to read people or you died. And this woman, she was hiding something. The diner began closing down. The few remaining customers paid and left. The manager locked the front door and disappeared into his office. The cook cleaned his station and walked out through the back. Vincent remained in his booth, hidden in the corner shadows, nursing his cold coffee. The waitress, Mia, thought everyone was gone. Vincent watched as she finished wiping down tables, her movements slower now, more tired. She checked over her shoulder twice, then 3 times, making sure she was alone. Then she moved toward the dish station where plastic bins of dirty plates sat waiting to be washed. What happened next made Vincent Russo, a man who'd witnessed torture, murder, and every kind of human cruelty imaginable, feel something crack inside his chest. Mia reached into the bin of dirty dishes. Her hands, those same hands that had poured his coffee with careful professionalism, now trembled as they pulled out a half-eaten burger. She looked around again, frightened, ashamed, desperate. Then she ate it. Standing over the trash, she consumed the leftover food like a starving animal, her dignity stripped away by necessity. She moved to another bin, pulling out cold fries, someone's discarded chicken wings, a quarter of a sandwich that had bite marks from a stranger's mouth. Vincent watched her eat trash. He watched her cry silently while she chewed. He watched her carefully wrap additional leftovers in napkins and place them in a worn grocery bag with the kind of precision that spoke of routine. This wasn't her first time. This wasn't desperation born of a bad week. This was survival. This was someone who'd been drowning for so long she'd forgotten what breathing felt like. When Mia finally slipped out the back door with her bag of garbage food, Vincent sat in the darkness for a long moment. Men in his organization feared him. Prosecutors built entire careers trying to catch him. He'd ordered things that would make normal people vomit. But this, watching a woman eat from the trash because the world had failed her so completely, this made him feel something he hadn't felt in years. Rage. Not the hot, explosive kind. The cold, calculating kind. The dangerous kind. Vincent stood and walked out through the front door, his mind already working. Tomorrow, he'd come back. Not as a customer. As an observer. Because Vincent Russo hadn't built an empire by ignoring opportunities. And something told him that this woman, this waitress eating trash in the darkness, was about to become very important. The diner's neon sign flickered behind him as he walked to his car, a black Mercedes parked 2 blocks away where security cameras couldn't see the plates. He pulled out his phone and made a call. The voice that answered was rough, loyal, dangerous. "It's me. I need a full background check." Name is Mia, works at Martinez Family Diner on South Parker Street. Everything. Family, finances, history, debts. I want to buy morning. Vincent hung up and started the engine. The city stretched out before him, glittering and corrupt and beautiful. Somewhere in those lights, Mia was taking her bag of trash food to someone who needed it. Vincent's phone buzzed at 6:47 a.m. with the background report. He read it in his penthouse overlooking the city, drinking espresso that cost more than Mia probably made in a week. What he saw on the screen made his jaw clench. Mia Chun, 24 years old. Parents deceased in a car accident 3 years ago. Legal guardian to 2 siblings, David aged 8 and Sophie aged 6. Working 2 jobs, the diner and weekend cleaning shifts at an office building downtown. Monthly income barely covered rent on a deteriorating apartment in the worst part of the city. No criminal record. No debt, because no bank would give her credit. No support system except an elderly neighbor who sometimes watched the kids. The woman was drowning and nobody cared. Vincent set down his phone and stared out at the city. In his world, loyalty meant everything. Family meant everything. This woman had sacrificed everything for her siblings, and the universe had rewarded her with dirty dish leftovers and an existence that would break most people. He made another call. I need surveillance on Martinez Family Diner. Cameras, audio, everything. I want to know every conversation, every movement. And I want it done invisibly. Nobody knows we're watching. Vincent arrived at the diner that night at 10:30 p.m., 30 minutes before closing. Different booth, same mediocre coffee, same careful observation. Mia worked the floor with the same exhausted efficiency. But tonight, Vincent noticed details he'd missed before. The way she flinched when the manager barked her name. The way other staff members ignored her or spoke about her like she wasn't there. The way she volunteered for the worst tasks without being asked, as if trying to earn her right to exist. A family came in 15 minutes before closing, parents and 3 loud children who immediately began complaining. The manager, Greg, rolled his eyes. Mia, take table 7. It's your section anyway. She nodded and approached with menus and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. The family was brutal. The father snapped at her for not bringing crayons fast enough. The mother sent her drink back twice. The children spilled things deliberately and laughed when Mia had to clean it up. Through it all, she remained patient, kind, professional. When they finally left, they tipped nothing. Absolutely nothing. Mia cleared the table without expression, but Vincent saw her hands shake as she wiped up the spilled juice and picked up the wadded napkins. Another waitress, Jessica, walked past and laughed. Rough night, huh? Maybe if you weren't so weird, people would tip you better. Mia said nothing. She just kept cleaning. Vincent's hands curled into fists under the table. In his world, disrespect had consequences. Permanent ones. The diner closed. Staff cleaned their sections and left one by one. Greg locked himself in his office, doing paperwork. And once again, Mia thought she was alone. Vincent had positioned himself in the storage room this time, hidden behind industrial shelving, watching through the gaps. He'd picked the lock earlier and slipped inside, a skill from his younger days that still served him well. Mia entered the kitchen and moved toward the dish station. But tonight was different. Tonight, there were barely any leftovers. The bins held mostly scraped clean plates. Vincent watched her face fall as she searched through the dirty dishes, finding almost nothing. A few fries. Half a breadstick. Nothing substantial. Nothing that would feed 2 hungry children waiting at home. She stood there holding the breadstick, and Vincent saw her crying. Really crying. Silent tears streaming down her face as she ate the garbage food because it was all she had. Then she did something that made Vincent's chest constrict. She put the few fries she'd found into her grocery bag. She wasn't eating them. She was saving them. For David and Sophie. Mia was starving herself to feed her siblings. Vincent watched her check her phone, her face illuminated by the screen. He couldn't see what she was reading, but her expression crumpled. She covered her mouth to muffle a sob, then forcibly composed herself. She wiped her eyes, straightened her uniform, and slipped out the back door with her pathetic bag of fries and breadstick. Vincent emerged from his hiding spot and stood in the empty kitchen. The rage he'd felt yesterday had crystallized into something colder, sharper, more dangerous. Purpose. He pulled out his phone and made another call. I need you to follow her. Don't approach, don't intervene. Just watch and report. And find out what that phone notification was. The report came 2 hours later. Vincent sat in his car reading the message, his expression darkening with every word. Mia had taken the bus to her apartment complex. She divided the fries and breadstick between David and Sophie, giving them everything while she drank water and told them she'd already eaten at work. The phone notification had been an eviction notice. 30 days to vacate or face forcible removal. She was 3 months behind on rent, and the landlord was done waiting. After the kids fell asleep, Mia had sat at the card table and searched food bank locations on her phone. Every single one had waiting lists or limited hours that conflicted with her work schedule. She then looked up second-hand stores that might buy her few possessions. A laptop that barely worked. Some books. A necklace that had belonged to her mother. Vincent read the report twice. This woman was trying everything. Working herself to death, sacrificing everything, following every rule, and the system was still failing her. The world was still crushing her. And tomorrow, she'd wake up and do it all again because she had no other choice. Vincent Russo had built an empire on fear and violence and calculated risk. He'd destroyed men who'd crossed him and rewarded those who showed loyalty. But he'd never involved himself in the legitimate world's problems. That was for civilians, for people who believed in governments and charity and the illusion that society cared. But something about Mia's situation had gotten under his skin. Maybe it was the way she protected her siblings with the same fierce loyalty he demanded from his organization. Maybe it was the injustice of watching someone good suffer while people like him lived in luxury. Or maybe it was simpler than that. Maybe Vincent Russo was tired of only destroying things. Maybe he wanted to build something. Save someone. Prove that even a monster could recognize genuine humanity when he saw it. He made a decision that would change everything. Tomorrow, he'd go back to the diner. But not to watch. To act. Vincent Russo didn't do anything halfway. When he moved with the full weight of his power and resources. And Mia Chun had no idea that the most dangerous man in the city had just decided to care about what happened to her. Vincent walked into Martinez's family diner at 2 p.m. the next day, during the lunch rush when the place was packed and chaotic. He wore a tailored suit that cost more than the entire restaurant's monthly revenue, drawing immediate attention from staff and customers alike. Greg, the manager, practically sprinted from his office, his face flushed with the kind of anxiety that comes from recognizing wealth and power even when you don't know the source. "Welcome, sir. Right this way, we'll get you our best table," Greg stammered, nearly tripping over himself. Vincent's cold eyes swept the dining room and landed on Mia. She was taking orders at a 4 top, her movements mechanical, her face pale with exhaustion. She hadn't noticed him yet. "I want her section," Vincent said flatly, pointing directly at Mia. Greg's face twisted with confusion and something like embarrassment. "Oh, well, sir, I can assure you our other servers are much more." He paused, searching for diplomatic words. "Experienced with our premium guests." "I wasn't asking." Vincent's voice dropped to a tone that made Greg's survival instincts scream warnings he didn't fully understand. "Her section. Now." "Yes, sir. Absolutely, of course." Greg practically ran to rearrange seating, bumping into Jessica, who'd been listening nearby. 5 minutes later, Vincent sat at table 12 in Mia's section. She approached with her order pad, her eyes downcast in that practiced way of someone who'd learned to make herself invisible. "Good afternoon. Welcome to Martinez's family diner. What can I get started for you today?" Her voice was professional but hollow, running on autopilot. Vincent watched her carefully. Up close, he could see details that broke through his carefully maintained emotional walls. The way her uniform had been mended multiple times. The shoes that were worn down at the heels. The tremor in her hands that she tried to hide. The dark circles under her eyes that makeup couldn't fully conceal. "Look at me," Vincent said quietly. Mia's eyes flicked up, meeting his for the first time. Something passed between them in that moment. A recognition she couldn't name but felt in her bones. This man was dangerous. Different. Important. "I'll have coffee, black, and whatever special you recommend," Vincent continued, his tone gentler now. "And I want you to bring yourself a meal too. Whatever you want. On my tab." Her face flushed. "Sir, I can't accept that. It's against policy." "I don't care about policy. You look like you haven't eaten in days. Bring yourself food, or I walk out right now, and you lose the commission on what would have been a very large order." It wasn't true. The diner didn't work on commission, but Mia didn't argue. She nodded once, quickly, and disappeared toward the kitchen. Vincent watched Greg intercept her, saw the animated conversation, the manager's confused gestures. But Mia returned 10 minutes later with Vincent's coffee and a small salad for herself. She set both down with shaking hands. "Thank you," she whispered. "Eat," Vincent commanded. "Not later. Right now? Here." "I really shouldn't. Customers are waiting." "They can wait 30 seconds. Sit down and eat." Something in his voice made disobedience impossible. Mia sat at the edge of the booth and took a bite of salad. Then another. Then she was eating like someone who'd forgotten what food tasted like when it wasn't scraped from dirty dishes. Vincent sipped his coffee and watched, feeling that strange sensation in his chest again. When she finished, Mia looked up at him with confusion and gratitude and fear all mixed together. "Why are you doing this?" "Because someone should have done it a long time ago," Vincent replied. "Now tell me the truth. How long since you had a real meal?" Her eyes filled with tears she refused to let fall. "I don't know what you mean. Don't lie to me. I've seen enough liars to know one when I'm sitting across from them. And you're not a liar. You're just surviving." Mia's composure cracked. 3 days, she whispered. "I haven't eaten in 3 days. My siblings, they need it more. I can handle being hungry. They can't." Vincent felt that cold rage solidify into diamond-hard resolve. "What's your rent situation?" Her eyes widened. "How did you?" She stopped, realizing the question was pointless. "I'm being evicted. 30 days. I've been looking for cheaper places, but everything requires deposits I don't have. And the food banks have waiting lists in my schedule." She was spiraling now, words tumbling out like a dam breaking. "I work 2 jobs, but it's never enough, and my siblings need school supplies, and Sophie needs glasses and David needs." She stopped herself, covering her mouth. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't be telling you this. You don't even know me." Vincent pulled out his phone and made a call right there at the table. Mia watched in confused silence. "Tony, it's me. I need you to handle something." Vincent rattled off Mia's address from memory. The apartment complex on Jackson Street. Find out who owns it, what they're owed, and make it disappear. All of it. "No, I don't care what it costs. And Tony, be subtle about it. Make it look legitimate." "Yes, today." He hung up and looked at Mia, whose face had gone completely white. "What did you just do?" "Your rent problem is solved. 3 months back rent, paid in full by tomorrow." "You're welcome." Mia stood up so fast she nearly knocked over the water glasses. "I can't accept that. I don't know who you are or what you want, but I won't." "Sit down," Vincent said calmly. "Mia, sit down before you cause a scene and lose this job too." She sat, trembling. "I don't want anything from you," Vincent continued. "No favors, no debts, nothing. Consider it an investment in basic human decency, something this world seems to have forgotten completely." "Who are you?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "Someone who recognizes loyalty and sacrifice when he sees it. You're killing yourself for your siblings. That kind of devotion is rare. It should be rewarded, not punished." Mia's tears finally fell, streaming down her face as she tried to process what was happening. Vincent handed her his napkin, an oddly gentle gesture from a man whose hands had done terrible things. "I can't let you do this," she said again, but her voice had lost its conviction. "You're too late. It's already done." Vincent stood and dropped $500 bills on the table. "That's for your meal and my coffee. Keep the change." "And Mia," he paused, looking at her with an intensity that made her breath catch. "This isn't charity. This is me correcting an injustice. There's a difference." He walked toward the exit, but stopped when he heard Greg's voice behind him, loud and sharp. "Mia, what the hell was that about? You can't just sit down and eat with customers. That's completely unprofessional." Vincent turned around slowly. The entire diner went quiet. Greg was standing over Mia's table, his face red with anger and confusion, completely unaware he was about to make a fatal mistake. "She sat because I told her to," Vincent said, his voice cutting through the silence like a blade. "And if you have a problem with how I choose to spend my money and my time, we can discuss it outside." Greg spun around, his angry expression faltering when he saw Vincent's face. The predatory coldness there. The absolute lack of fear or hesitation. Every instinct Greg had screamed at him to back down. "No sir, I apologize, I didn't mean to," Greg stuttered backwards. Vincent walked back to Mia's table and looked down at her. "Tomorrow, same time, same table. We're not done yet." He left before she could respond, walking out into the afternoon sun where his driver waited with the Mercedes. As the car pulled away, Vincent's phone rang. Tony's voice came through. "Boss, the landlord's name is Marcus Webb. Small-time slumlord who owns 6 properties, all of them barely habitable. He's been threatening eviction but hasn't filed official paperwork yet, probably hoping to scare her into paying." "Good," Vincent said. "Pay him what she owes, add a premium for his trouble, and make it clear that Mia Chun and her siblings are not to be bothered again. Ever. If he violates that, he loses more than rental income. Understood?" "Understood, boss. One more thing. The building she lives in, it's a death trap. Exposed wiring, mold, broken heating. Code violations everywhere." Vincent was quiet for a moment. "Buy the building." Tony's silence stretched for 3 seconds. "Buy it. All of it. Make an offer Webb can't refuse. I want Mia and her siblings moved to the best unit in that building within the week. Hire contractors to fix everything. Make it livable. Make it safe. And Tony," Vincent's voice hardened, "if Webb gives you any problems at all, remind him what happens to people who exploit children and desperate women in this city. Remind him who runs this city." Tony laughed, a dark sound. "It'll be handled, boss. You going soft on us?" Vincent hung up without answering because he didn't know the answer himself. Was he going soft? Or was he finally using his power for something other than destruction? The Mercedes drove through the city streets as Vincent stared out the window. Somewhere behind him, Mia was probably still sitting at that table, holding $500 and trying to understand what had just happened to her life. Tomorrow, he'd come back. And the day after that. Because Vincent Russo had decided that Mia Chun and her siblings were under his protection now. And in his world, that meant something. That meant everything. Vincent arrived at the diner at exactly 2 p.m. the next day, and the atmosphere had shifted completely. Word had spread about the mysterious wealthy man who dropped $500 and made the manager back down like a scared dog. Staff whispered and stared as he walked in. Customers craned their necks to get a look. Greg practically materialized out of thin air, his smile desperate and fake. "Mr. Russo, welcome back, sir. Your table is ready." Vincent's eyes narrowed. "I never told you my name." Greg's face went pale, realizing his mistake. He'd looked Vincent up, probably spent all night searching the internet, probably found enough to make him very nervous. "I, just wanted to make sure we provided excellent service," Greg stammered. Vincent ignored him and walked directly to table 12 where Mia was already standing, waiting. She looked different. Still exhausted, still worn down, but something had changed in her eyes. Hope, maybe. Or confusion. Or fear. He couldn't tell which. "Sit," Vincent said as he slid into the booth. Mia glanced around nervously. "I'll get fired if I sit with you again. Then they'll have to fire you because I'm not eating unless you sit down and join me." She sat, her hands folded tightly in her lap. "Why are you doing this?" she asked immediately. "Yesterday you paid my rent, all of it. The landlord called me last night screaming about some businessman who—" She stopped, her voice breaking. "That was you. You bought the entire building." Vincent sipped the coffee that had appeared without him ordering it. The building was a hazard. Children were living in dangerous conditions. "I fixed a problem." "You don't just fix problems for strangers." "What do you want from me?" "Nothing," Vincent said, meeting her eyes directly. "Absolutely nothing. I want nothing from you, Mia. I want to give you something. A chance. A life that doesn't involve eating garbage and starving yourself so your siblings can survive." Mia's tears came fast and hard, no longer containable. "Why?" she sobbed. "You don't know me. You don't know me anything. Why would you?" She couldn't finish. Vincent leaned forward, his voice low and intense. "Because I watched you eat leftovers from dirty dishes. I watched you save food for children while you went hungry. I watched you work yourself to death for minimum wage and no tips while people treated you like you were invisible. And I decided that in a world full of corrupt garbage humans who take everything and give nothing, someone should help the one person who actually deserves it." Mia covered her face with her hands, her shoulders shaking. Other customers were staring now, but Vincent didn't care. Let them stare. Let them see what happened when someone actually gave a damn about doing the right thing. When Mia finally looked up, her eyes were red but clear. "I don't know how to repay you. You can't. This isn't a transaction. This is me using my resources to fix something broken. Consider it done and move on." But Mia shook her head. "I can't just move on. You changed everything. My landlord is suddenly terrified of me. Contractors showed up this morning to fix my apartment. My neighbors are asking questions. My siblings think I won the lottery. How am I supposed to explain this? Tell them the truth, Vincent said simply. Tell them someone saw you struggling and decided to help. Tell them the world isn't completely evil. Tell them whatever you need to tell them. Just stop killing yourself. Mia wiped her eyes and straightened her shoulders. There was strength there, buried under the exhaustion and desperation. She was a fighter. She'd been fighting alone for so long she'd forgotten what it felt like to have someone in her corner. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you doesn't even begin to cover it, but thank you. Vincent nodded once. Now order whatever you want. Real food. And eat all of it. No arguments. For the first time since Vincent had met her, Mia smiled. Really smiled. It transformed her entire face, revealing the young woman who'd been buried under years of trauma and survival mode. She ordered a burger and fries and ate every single bite while Vincent watched with satisfaction. They talked while she ate. About David and Sophie, about their dreams and struggles. About Mia's parents and the accident that had destroyed her life. About her hopes to eventually go back to school, maybe become a nurse, maybe give her siblings the life they deserved. Vincent listened to all of it, storing away information, making mental notes of problems he could solve. When Mia finished eating, Vincent pulled out an envelope and slid it across the table. What's this? She asked suspiciously. Open it. Inside were 3 things. A cashier's check for $50,000. A lease agreement for a 2-bedroom apartment in a safe neighborhood with a good school district, first and last month already paid. And a business card with a single phone number. Mia stared at the contents, her hands trembling. I can't accept this. Yes, you can. The check covers expenses, emergencies, whatever you and your siblings need. The apartment is ready now. Move in this weekend. And that number, Vincent tapped the business card. That's my direct line. You call it if anyone bothers you, threatens you, or tries to hurt you or your family. Ever. For any reason. Mia looked up at him with an expression that was part gratitude, part terror. Who are you really? Someone who believes in protecting people who can't protect themselves, Vincent said carefully. Someone who has resources and chooses to use them for good occasionally. That's all you need to know. But the apartment, the money, this is too much. It's not enough, Vincent countered. You've been surviving on scraps and willpower for years. You deserve more than the bare minimum. You deserve safety and stability and a chance to actually live instead of just exist. Mia's tears started again, but she was smiling through them. I don't know what to say. Say you'll take the apartment. Say you'll quit this job that pays you nothing and treats you like garbage. Say you'll focus on your siblings and yourself for once instead of sacrificing everything. Mia hesitated, looking around the diner at the place that had been her prison for 2 years. I need to give notice. Greg won't like it if I just leave. Vincent's expression hardened. Greg will deal with it. In fact, he pulled out his phone and made a call right there. Tony, I need you to look into Martinez Family Diner, corporate ownership, franchise agreements, everything. Yes, all of it. I'm considering an acquisition. He hung up and looked at Mia, whose eyes had gone wide. You're buying the restaurant? Maybe. Depends on what I find. But either way, you're done here. Today's your last day. Before Mia could respond, Greg appeared at the table, his face tight with barely controlled anger. Mia, you're needed in the kitchen. There are orders backing up. She can't help you, Vincent said coldly. She just quit. Greg's face went red. She can't just quit in the middle of a shift. That's completely. Watch your tone, Vincent interrupted, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. You're talking to someone who just changed her entire life. Show some respect or leave. Greg opened his mouth to argue, but something in Vincent's eyes stopped him cold. Fine, Greg spat. Clear out your locker and leave. Don't expect a reference. Mia stood up slowly, gathering the envelope with shaking hands. She looked at Vincent one more time. Why? She asked again, needing to understand. Because someone should have helped you a long time ago, Vincent repeated. And because in my line of work, I see the worst of humanity every single day. It's refreshing to help one of the good ones for once. Mia nodded and walked toward the kitchen to get her things. The entire diner watched her go, whispers spreading like wildfire. Vincent remained seated, sipping his coffee, radiating an aura of controlled danger that made everyone give him a wide berth. 10 minutes later, Mia emerged with a small bag containing her few personal items. She walked to Vincent's table one last time. I'll never forget this, she said. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to pay this forward. That's all I ask, Vincent replied. Take care of your siblings. Build a good life. And remember that not everyone in this world is out to hurt you. Some of us actually believe in doing the right thing. Mia wiped her eyes and smiled through her tears. Thank you, Mr. Russo. Thank you for seeing me when everyone else looked right through me. Vincent watched her leave through the front door, walking out into the sunlight toward a future that was finally bright instead of brutally dark. He finished his coffee and stood to leave. Greg was nowhere to be seen, probably hiding in his office. The other staff members avoided Vincent's gaze. As he walked toward the exit, Jessica, the waitress who'd mocked Mia multiple times, was standing near the host's stand. Vincent stopped in front of her. You laughed at her, he said quietly. Multiple times. Made jokes about her being weird and friendless. Jessica's face went pale. I didn't mean anything by it. Yes, you did. You meant every word. Vincent leaned in close enough that only she could hear. Here's a life lesson. The people you mock and dismiss, they're often fighting battles you can't even imagine. Mia was starving herself to feed orphan siblings while you complained about sore feet and bad tips. Remember that next time you decide to judge someone. He straightened up and walked out, leaving Jessica frozen in place. Outside, Tony was waiting by the Mercedes with a tablet full of information. The building's secured, boss, Tony said as Vincent approached. Mia and the kids can move in this weekend. Contractors are already working overtime to make it perfect. Good, Vincent said. And the diner? Corporate-owned, franchise agreement with the Martinez family. Books are a mess, multiple code violations, sexual harassment complaints that were buried. The whole operation is barely legal. Vincent smiled coldly. Make them an offer. Lowball them. When they refuse, have our lawyers send them the list of violations we found. They'll accept the second offer. And Tony, Vincent added, when we own it, the first thing we do is fire Greg. Make it public. Make it humiliating. Make it exactly what he deserved for how he treated his staff. Tony grinned. My pleasure, boss. You're doing a lot of legitimate business lately. Getting soft? Vincent climbed into the Mercedes and looked out at the city, his city, the place he controlled from the shadows. Maybe I am getting soft. Or maybe I'm just tired of only breaking things. Maybe it's time to build something good for once. The car pulled away from Martinez family diner, leaving behind a place that had been Mia's prison and was about to become Vincent's latest acquisition. Somewhere across town, Mia was probably calling her siblings with news that would change their lives forever. And Vincent Russo, the ghost of the underworld, the man feared by criminals and law enforcement alike, felt something he hadn't felt in 20 years. He felt good about something he'd done. That night, Vincent stood in his penthouse with a glass of whiskey, looking out at the glittering city lights. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It's Mia. David and Sophie are crying happy tears. We're moving this weekend. I'll never be able to thank you enough. You already did. Take care of your family. That's all the thanks I need. Vincent set down his phone and smiled. A real smile, rare and genuine. In a world full of darkness, he'd created one small pocket of light. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. Mia and her siblings moved into their new apartment and finally knew what security felt like. Vincent continued watching over them from the shadows, ensuring they never struggled again. Sometimes the most dangerous people in the world are the ones who choose to protect instead of destroy. The world called Vincent Russo a criminal, but to Mia and her siblings, he was a guardian angel who proved that humanity still existed in the darkest places. Make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment telling me what you thought about this story and share this with everyone who needs to hear it. This is the kind of content that changes lives. Don't miss the next story dropping soon. It's going to be even more incredible. Subscribe, comment, share. Let's go. Fire, fire, fire.